Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. My name is John Hammond, and I'm currently a film student at Full Sail University. And I have a very special treat for you all today. I recently had the opportunity to interview Kathleen Zelch, also known as Agent Texas, in the hit Machinima web series Red vs. Blue. But before we get into the questions, I thought I'd give you a brief history on Kathleen's career and accomplishments. Kathleen's career in the film industry is very heavily rooted in the realm of animation. She's worked on movies such as Curious George, The Iron Giant, and was an associate producer on the Scholastics film Clifford's Really Big Movie. She was also a visual effects production manager for the live-action Scooby-Doo movie. But she has also produced commercials for Century 21, Burger King, and even CNN, just to name a few. But film is not Kathleen's only passion. On her website, www.kathleenzelch.com, she has started a Good Deeds program where it inspires her followers to take time and do unsolicited random acts of kindness, sort of pay it forward for the real world. Now that you know a little more about her, let's get to the actual interview. Kathleen, what do you see as the role of the visual arts in our mass-mediated world, and particularly in your profession?
Visual arts. Everything is visual. I think, obviously, with the internet, and everything's cut fast. Everything is about instant gratification. What people see, that's how people pick product that they want to purchase. It's all about the visuals. I don't think we'll ever go back to anything other than creating more all around us. In my profession, with animation, with visual effects, it's all about the visuals. It has to be so that the human eye can pick up on it and it actually looks real. So visual arts in the visual effects world is something that's highly important because we as human beings can pick out things that are just a little bit off.
Okay, well, let's go on to the next question. With new communications and media technologies, imagery is almost instantly available. Do you believe that this is having a positive or negative influence on this industry?
I think it's both. Sometimes I feel like it's a negative because when I was younger, imagery was a lot slower. Movies developed, and it wasn't so much as throwing as many visuals in there that, as you can see back to back. But when MTV came around and we got what do they call the videos? Music videos. Music videos started editing very quickly and making the visuals interesting. And I think that was kind of the beginning of how people needed to have that, again, kind of instant gratification. Let's see it right now. And the younger generation is getting really used to that. If you look at anything on the internet, video blogs, things are cut so that the time, spaces are cut out of it so that you have instant information. No one's basically talking and telling a story because we lose people's attention span.
Be pretty hard not to agree with that. Well, the next question. What popular images do you see that are frequently rechanneled throughout the entertainment industry?
I'm not really sure. I mean, obviously I think it'd be commercial imagery. We see things and then automatically we know, hey, that's the Doughboy guy, or that's something over here. I mean, I think in commercial we're going to get that a lot more than, I take that back. In film, there's so many properties that are regurgitated over and over, and as soon as we see that visual, we know that, oh, guess what, another sequel is going to come out. So I'm not sure if that's exactly the answer to that, but and there's so many popular images. I could go on for days.
All right. Well, in your opinion, do you think that there are any particular images that this industry has popularized or created?
Are there particular images in this industry? I'm going to say no for that one. I'm going to pass over that one because, again, there's probably too many.
All right. Fair enough. Has your knowledge of famous artworks influenced your creative process at all?
Well, for me in animation, it would go back to Hanna-Barbera days when they created limited animation and with like the Flintstones. So instead of redoing every single cell, every single drawing, every single frame, they learned very quickly, and it was very economical for them to just create the body of Fred Flintstone. And if he's running, they basically just cycle that run. If his head turns, everything is frozen underneath his head, and they would just animate the head turning. So I really studied and looked back at all of the famous animators that started everything out. Traditional animation for me is so much more exciting and to me true to art, because these are people that have to draw with their hands. Not to say that 3D animation isn't hard, it's just I feel like it's a different qualification artistically that people can have and do it, and they don't necessarily have to have a traditional style background. I think as a producer, hiring people that have a traditional style background is very important to me, because when somebody knows traditional animation, the timing and character animation seems to be so much better than if somebody just, maybe they were a 3D animator in effects, and that's really hard to translate that over to, say, character animation.
Well, on the topic of animation, I understand you have a lot of experience working as a production manager or associate producer on multiple animated films. How does the process from pre-production to post-production on animated films differ from live action?
Well, you know what? It actually, there's a lot of similarities. In live action, you start obviously with the story, you start with a script, and it goes to storyboards. Most films have a storyboard person, and nowadays, directors are actually having animatics, which is taking those storyboards and creating in a 3D world an animatics so that the actors can see what they are going to be doing. In animation, it's the same type of thing. We take a story, a script. However, what we do different is we record all the actors first. So you have the animation, you have the voiceover, and then the script is kind of dissected into sequence and scenes, and then that's handed out to storyboard artists, and then they create the storyboards. And a lot of times now that's done digitally in Storyboard Pro. That's creating an animatic in its own, and then that goes to either nowadays sometimes outsourcing to other countries, or in the next department, it'd go into layout and rough animation and or down the road. So for live action, there's a big chunk that, animation, we have a lot more steps in order to get to the final product, because we have to draw and we have to composite and light and render all these different components. Whereas in live action, you get your animatic, but then guess what? You're going to go to set and you're going to start filming. And then you're going to start editing and sound and Foley and things like that. So there's similarities, and then the middle chunks seem to be a little bit different.
Thank you for that. Well, as we both know, this industry is filled with many hits and misses. So when do you feel that you got the job that helped you break into the industry?
Oh, for sure it was Iron Giant. When I worked on Warner Brothers, it was my second film that I worked on. And I had the chance to start from the very beginning, and I actually worked with the art director, and the producer actually came to me and said, we're going to have Alan, the art director, really focus on color and design, but he doesn't really seem to, the time-consuming part is continuity. And I was loving to just grab more and more and more, so I really spent time with all the different departments while I was working with Alan, but also to take over the continuity part of the Iron Giant, and sitting in Sweatbox and letting them know if Hogarth had the wrong shirt on, or if they were in the wrong location, or if a prop was incorrect. And I also did that, for layout and for background painting, because in Iron Giant we painted the backgrounds; they weren't done in Photoshop. So that was the best move I ever worked on. It was the best experience. I had the chance to go, and do so many different important roles that I felt really, really good about. So at that point, that catapulted me into, really wanting to be more of a production manager than, producer or line producer, associate producer, kind of just moving up the ladder.
Well, we just heard your example of probably the best and most favorite moment in film for you. But we both know that the media industry can be very stressful and time-consuming. What do you do, I don't know, to unwind during your downtime?
My downtime? Well, the biggest thing that I did in the last 5 years was outrigger canoe, and I would compete with a women's team, and I spent 3 days a week with the team and training, and then I also spent the other 4 days training on my own. And I actually got to do a world championship. That was 2 years ago, coming up 2 years ago. And so now I draw, I play the piano, I sing. I have my 2 pups, and I take a lot of walks. And I'm in Austin now, trying to get back into the outrigger canoe. So I try to do creative things because as a producer, I don't get to be very creative. It's all about schedules and numbers, and so I like to really fulfill that creative side for myself.
Now, you've been giving a voice to Agent Texas on Red vs. Blue since pretty much since it started in around 2003. Other than Texas, is there any other character that you would like to either lend your voice to or help bring to life if somebody were to give you the chance?
Definitely, and hopefully in the future you will hear that. No spoilers, but I'm really excited to try to do something very different than the Tex voice, because Tex pretty much sounds like me, but just maybe a little more bitchy. But I look forward to that, and when I'm able to, I will share it with you. Anyways, I'm Kathleen Zelch from Rooster Teeth Productions, and John is a good friend of mine, and I think he's going to do well in this industry.
Well, if those last few moments of that interview didn't express how wonderful and giving a person Kathleen Zelch is, throughout that interview you could definitely tell how talented she is. But if she still couldn't convince you for some reason unknown to man, you can always check her out on her IMDb page. Also, she has her own personal website, www.kathleenzelch.com. I highly recommend you go. That website is filled with blogs, pictures, all kinds of stuff. As well as you can hear Kathleen lending her voice to Agent Texas on redversusblue.com, exclusively at www.roosterteeth.com. Well, thank you for joining me in this interview. Thank you for listening to the podcast. And how about all of you go out there and do something awesome?